Ralph was losing his patience. The census guy clearly didn't know how to type. He peered over his glasses as he meticulously pecked at keys with his 2 index fingers. Ralph rubbed at his chin whiskers and asked Bob how long this was going to take. Bob replied, "Not much longer, Mr. Peters. I just have a few questions about your tobacco use. This is a very important part of the process. With your information, we can determine where money can be allocated to help fight cancer." Ralph sighed. Bob asked Ralph if he smoked, if he chewed, if he used snuff. He asked Ralph about when he started smoking, how long he smoked, and how much he smoked. He queried if he visited his doctor lately, if he's had a colonoscopy, if his family had a history of cancer. Ralph answered every question to the best of his ability while fighting off boredom. And just when Bob's slow, punctilious pecks wound down to one overly climatic jab on the period key, Bob said, "Okay, Mr. Peters, almost done. Just a few more questions." Ralph blew a fuse and said, "No more questions. You told me that this wouldn't take much of my time. You told me an hour at most. It's been 2 hours. I'm sorry, Bob, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Bob looked over his glasses straight at Ralph. He smiled, exposing his big yellow teeth, and replied, "Mr. Peters, I assure you, I only have a few more questions. I will be out of your hair and out of your house within 5 minutes. If I'm 1 second late, the Bureau will give you $20 straight from my wallet. What do you say?" Ralph thought about it for a second and asked, "$20? Bob replied, "$20. Ralph stroked his beard in thought and said, "Okay." Bob smiled and began to work. Bob's fingers moved across the laptop's keys like someone who remembered his typing lessons. Every now and then he would stop typing, push up his glasses, and say, Then the typing would start again. Finally, he stopped typing, looked at Ralph, and said, "I see you have a sister." Ralph replied that he did. Bob asked, "Did you fuck her?" Not sure if he heard him right, Ralph replied. "What was that?" Again, in a sure, steady tone, Bob asked, "Did you fuck her?" Ralph still wasn't sure if he heard him right. Did he fuck his sister? What the hell kind of question was that? He didn't give a damn about $20 now. Bob crossed the line. He was kicking this old man out. "Bob, you," Ralph started to say, until Bob cut him off and boomed, "Just answer the question. Did you or did you not fuck your sister? Our records show that you used to watch her undress on multiple occasions, so the Bureau needs to know. Did you fuck your sister?" Ralph was flabbergasted. He opened his mouth to reply, then closed it because he didn't think Bob would accept what he had to say. He was going to tell Bob to get the fuck out of his house. He was going to tell Bob he was appalled that he would ask such a thing and that he was going to contact the Bureau to let them know that he didn't appreciate them sending this rude, old, time-consuming freak to his house. He was going to tell Bob a lawsuit was in the making and an ass-kicking was coming. But Bob did something to make Ralph rethink what he was going to say. Bob removed his glasses. Without his glasses, Bob seemed to take on different features and a malevolent persona. Ralph noticed the small potholes in his face seemed like hopeless pits to oblivion. His eyebrows were no longer the uncouth, overgrown, wild mess that old men usually sport. They were now serpent-like living things that could lash out and strike unwilling participants of the census process. Then there were his eyes, angry and unforgiving. Ralph knew he couldn't lie to those eyes, for if he did, there would be hell to pay. "No," Ralph answered. "No what?" Bob screamed. "No, I didn't fuck my sister," Ralph replied. "Good," Bob said. Bob's fingers flew across his computer keys while his mouth asked questions at the same breakneck speed. "Did you steal from your mother? Have you stolen from work? Have you cheated on your taxes? Have you cheated on your wife? And how many times? Have you abandoned a pet? Have you killed a neighbor's pet? How much property have you vandalized? Was you ever a false witness? Have you ever contributed to the delinquency of a minor?" And on and on. Ralph answered every question truthfully. As he answered, he felt as though he was digging his own grave. He felt that when Bob left, and his wife came home with smiles and salutations, that it wouldn't matter. Nothing would matter anymore. He would be doomed to a fate that he probably deserved because he hasn't been the greatest guy to walk this earth. "Do you understand the ramifications of your actions, Mr. Peters?" Bob screamed. "I think so," Ralph replied. "You think so?" Bob asked. "Your soul is at stake here, Mr. Peters. Your soul. It's eternal, and from the information you've given me, your soul will be doomed for all eternity." Ralph bowed his head and began to sob. He knew he wasn't perfect, but he thought he led a decent life. "Crying solves nothing, Mr. Peters. Your fate is what you've made it. I will relay this information to the Bureau. You've been very helpful, Mr. Peters. Thank you for your time." Bob placed his glasses in his jacket pocket, closed his laptop, placed various documents in a folder, and headed for the door. "Wait," Ralph requested. "I have more appointments to honor Mr. Peters. No time to dally," Bob replied. "But I've given to the United Way." "You have?" "Yes." "For how long?" "Ever since I've started working." Bob smiled, retrieved his glasses, sat down, opened his laptop, and said, "This changes things, Mr. Peters." His fingers blazed across the keys. Every now and then he would say, "Ah, yes," or After a few moments, he deluged Ralph with facts about his life. He told him he does give to the United Way, has for the last 30 years. He told him he found more information about his charitable acts, such as Secret Santa, clothes donations, and food drives. He said it was admirable that he cared for his grandmother in the last year of her life, and watching out for the kids at the bus stop every morning was angelic. He told him he should be applauded for his humanitarian efforts of feeding stray cats, getting his aunt's groceries, and helping the neighbor kid fix his bike. "Am I going to make it?" Ralph asked. "Make what?" Bob replied. "You know, the good place." Bob closed his laptop and glared at Ralph from above the rim of his glasses. "You're neither here nor there, Mr. Peters. From the information I've gathered, you're smack dab in the middle. You're destined to an unpleasant place, a vast parceland where the suns never sit, companionship is close to nil, and the echoes of the saved and the damned drift with the winds. It can be quite maddening, but it's tolerable. Your fate is in your hands." Ralph thought for a moment and asked, "What can I do to change that?" Bob gathered his things again and said, "It's not my place to tell one how to live one's life. I just gather information for the Bureau. But if I were you, Mr. Peters, I would quit gambling and drinking. They're not sins, but they lead to much worse things. Oh, and the pornography isn't helping your cause either." With that said, Bob headed out the door, off the porch, and into his Cadillac. Ralph watched him drive away, and the further he traveled, the further Ralph's memory of him journeyed from his mind, until he was nothing but a nagging, unconscious reminder of a path that he should take in order to find his way to glory. Speaking of glory, his wife would be home soon, and like a good husband, he retrieved the clothes from the dryer to fold and put away. Today was his lucky day. He found a crisp, clean $20 bill in the lint collector.